Thank you, Dolphins fans. Welcome to another episode of On the FinSide here with Kat and Paul. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and on Spotify. The Dolphins lose to the Denver Broncos here today at Mile High, or whatever you call it, 20-13, in a game that we really did not expect the Dolphins to lose. We're not used to losing because it's been what, 45, 50 days until the Dolphins since the Dolphins have lost. But this is a game the Dolphins got up 7-0 early on. Xavier Howard had an interception. Tua threw a touchdown to Devontae Parker at the goal line. But, at the end, I mean, you've got to say the Denver Broncos did hand it to the Dolphins here, Paul. I mean, even though the score only said 20-13.
They did, but the good news here is the Dolphins in this one, they played like unmotivated ass. And I'm glad they got that juju out of the way because Brian Flores is not going to let that stand. You know it, I know it, all of our listeners know it. And it's a good wake up call, and I'd rather they have that now and bounce back. It's one game. They haven't lost in a month and a half. Let's just put realistic expectations here. Tua did not look like Tua today. The offensive line did not look like the offensive line today. The D line, well, they weren't terrible. There were some decent performances there. The secondary was okay. The run defense was abhorrent, and the linebackers, eh, eh. But overall, this is a team that has shown us that they can play well, play together, play for each other. And this game is just a one-off stinker as it stands right now. And the best news I can tell you is the biggest and best cure for a hangover after a loss like this would be to play against a team like, I don't know, the Adam Gase-led New York Jets. Luckily, that's what Miami's got coming up.
Yeah, and when you look at the next two games, the Dolphins play the Jets, and then they play the Bengals at home in Miami. More than likely, they're going to be 8-4 after their first 12 games. That's good news. The bigger news, though, Paul, is Tua was benched in this game, and that typically I wouldn't have a big problem with making a quarterback switch, but the reality is they brought a 38-year-old quarterback back into the football game after previously having a quarterback that went 3-0. I mean, I thought maybe it was a foot injury at the time, but I wanted to see Tua battle back in the fourth quarter, and he did not get that opportunity.
He didn't, but you know what? This was not the Tua we've all come to expect, the one that's got over 100 passer rating in the three previous games. This Tua, it's watching the first half as an example. Yes, the offensive line struggled at times today, but Tua did them no favors in this one. They're going to have a lot of game film to correct a lot of things in this game. He was missing wide open receivers, to the point where it was almost like watching Jay Cutler throw the ball into the stands. He might as well have thrown it there. This is a good learning experience for Tua, and you know what? I hope this lights a little fire under his ass for next
Yep.
week and beyond.
Yeah, you're exactly right on that. And yeah, Tua, from all reports, is going to start next week against the Jets, and he should.
Yeah.
And because otherwise, if there's no point in having a 38-year-old Ryan Fitzpatrick start the next however long it is. But there were a couple more problems in this game. As the game continued to go on, the defense got worse and worse. I mean, Drew Lock threw for 270 yards. he started the game, 1 for 7 for 10 yards and an interception. And then the rest of the game, he started to roll off play action and did a very good job for the rest of the game. So really a complete team loss here. But at the end of the day, to put a positive spin on it, if I can, the Dolphins only lost 20-13, even though it seemed like everything went terribly.
Yeah, and what I'll say too to the Drew Lock numbers is he got about 60 yards on that garbage time chuck it up play at the end that was to run out the clock. So I mean, I didn't feel like he beat us through the air. I did think their running game kind of tore us apart a little bit, but at the same time, Denver was playing with a lead, and our offense was going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. The yardage at that point is going to add up, and it's not like, even given the fact that Denver was on the field with their offense all game, it's not like they dropped a 40 burger on our defense here. It's the defense played all right. The special teams played all right. The
Yeah.
offense was putrid in this one and unmotivated.
Yeah. And one thing I said in our pregame is if Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay run up the gut repeatedly, then I could see the Broncos possibly winning this game. And that's exactly what they did. They ran 32 times for 146 yards in this contest. And it's not that the run defense played poorly. It's that they kept plowing, and the Dolphins were not getting those same special teams and those defensive big plays that they were getting before. So, yeah, and that's to be expected. But I think you're exactly right, too, in that when you look at the next couple of games here against the Jets and against the Bengals, if they've got to win both of these games because it partially because Tua has to be able to. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what I'm saying here. I mean, they just have to play better.
And the good news is
I'm
here
pissed
they
off. I'm pissed off. I really am.
I get it, and I don't know if Tua's foot was bothering him because when I've seen Tua miss, he doesn't do it often. This is going back to Alabama. There's never been an issue with Tua's accuracy. There's never been an issue with his mobility, and I didn't feel like he had 100% of that today. Whether there could be numerous factors, but it didn't feel like his accuracy was. It just felt like one of those games. It felt like the New Orleans Sunday night game against Tampa Bay a few weeks ago. That's what it felt like here. It felt like one of those games where no matter how good your team is, even if they have a couple of good moments, they just came out and laid a damn egg. Now, it's similar to what the Pats did in the Super Bowl in their 18-1 season. There are numerous times you can point to this for just about any team other than the 72 Dolphins throughout NFL history. No matter how good, how dominant they are. You look at some of those Patriots teams that were dropping 50-plus points against almost every opponent. They still lost games. It's going to happen, and there's going to be games where you just come out and you just got to shake the damn demon off and move to next.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And where we stand right now, the Dolphins are 6-4, but they're also ninth seed in the AFC right now among 16 teams. And that's where we sit. But I also expect the Dolphins to win the next two games too. So looking at the position by position now, at quarterback, if we're grading it, I can't give Tua any more than a D here. I mean, he was benched, and it really, when you look at the first 5 passes that he threw, it was I mean, the ball sailed on him every single pass that he threw. And Jakeem Grant was wide open on the first two passes, and he sailed the ball over his head. And maybe it's the altitude. They're in Denver. I don't know, but not good enough. But I'm going to give the quarterback position no better than a D here.
Yeah, and I'm going to comment on it in a second. I'm going to actually incorporate something. So, Home St. Army, I think it is here. You know, you put in the chat. So now Tua has the back of his mind. Hey, if I play bad, I'll get pulled. Which I agree with, possibly. But that you said that's such bad coaching. It isn't. If you play like ass, you should expect to get pulled out of a game. No individual on a team is more important than the team. This is a team that is in the thick of a playoff race. And if he's not getting the job done, I don't care who he is, right? Just like if Chan Gailey's not getting the job done up in the box and Flores feels like it, he can cut his damn mic off and call the play he wants. That is, at some point you have to have faith in what Flores and Greer are building here. For Tua today, it is a D minus. For Tua and Fitzpatrick combined, it is a D minus. There were a couple of special throws that kept it out of F territory. The rest of the time, he was missing wide open receivers religiously. It is what it is.
That's it's odd because on one hand, when you see Tua playing that badly, can you pull him, or do you wait to go along with and hope that he can push his way through that? I wish that they would have kept him in and pushed his way through it. My whole thing has been, if you start Tua, you don't take him out, period. And they took him out today, and I'm pissed off about that.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I am. There's two ways to do it. One of them is see if you can work his shit out. Well, and the other is, and if they were down by 2 scores, fine, leave him in, let him work it out. But here they were within striking distance. Tua wasn't getting it done, and you've got a gunslinger that, for whatever reason, tends to rally people. He's charismatic as hell, and this was the point where take that chance so you can extend your season. And Flores took a roll on it. The team was playing flat. The offense was playing flat. And Tua got rolled up the play before. I don't care what he says. It wasn't just performance. Tua got bent like a pretzel the game before. Let him live to see another day and work with him this week. And you can keep good coaching. You keep his confidence up regardless. You know what I liked about when Tua got pulled? He put the damn headset on and was talking through everything and was still into the game. That's what I liked. D minus.
Yeah, I said at the time that when Tua was pulled that if you're putting Fitzpatrick in, you better win, and they didn't, and that's a shame. Running back position, Paul, Savon Ahmed, 12 carries, 34 yards today, but he didn't have a lot of run or a lot of room to run either. So I'm going to go ahead with C.
Well, it wasn't just Savon in this one. Breda got in there a little bit too, and Laird got in a little bit too, and Laird almost disappeared when he was out there, and Breda really missed some very open holes. Savon played okay. He had 3.6, I believe, yards per carry at the end of it. But again, they weren't doing enough to get it done, and it's a close, tight game. C minus.
At the wide receiver and tight end position, Devontae Parker had a lot of phenomenal catches. I mean, even though he had 6 catches for 61 yards and a touchdown, really good game on the perimeter. I mean, and he was going up against AJ Boye. He was going up against Bryce Callahan. And really, those were the only throws that Tua was making on the perimeter. And did a great job there. Jakeem Grant was open early in the game, but that was about it. Mike Gesicki, 4 catches for 43 yards, and not a lot else from the depth of the Dolphins roster at the wide receiver spot, and that's the major concern. So overall, I'm going to go with a with a C for the Dolphins at wide receiver and tight end.
I'm gonna go with a. I really don't put it. There were some drops in this one. I'm gonna go with a B minus here for the receivers and tight ends. I don't feel like they were the issue today. Devontae Parker played way bigger than his stat line. I really can't wait. I think it was Chris Kaufman put out there um, that he can't wait until Tua and Jakeem get on the same page. I am right there with him. Seeing Callaway get on the field and get his first catch. I'd really like to have seen Perry get involved a little bit more, and it felt like they just weren't getting it to him. Gesicki, well, he showed up this week, which is good to see. I think it's a joke that PFF has him as the highest rated Dolphins player right now because really, as good as he started off, he hasn't done a lot in recent memory. I think Durham Smythe and Adam Shaheen have been better in recent weeks, and that's a shame considering the tools that Gesicki has. But yeah, I can go with a B minus. I don't feel like they were the reason Miami lost this game.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And Mike Gesicki has had 42 and 43 yards over the last 2 weeks. So that's not any way the reason that the Dolphins have lost games. Offensive line, you know, 5, 6 sacks today, not good enough. I mean, Bradley Chubb is he got 12 and a half sacks a couple of years ago, but he had a field day today.
He did. Eric Flowers had a rough day. He really did. It's every time I saw him, he was diving after somebody, and I'm going to give him a pass. He's been so solid for Miami this season. Solomon Kinley went out early with an injury, and Jesse Davis suddenly went from being better at guard than he is at tackle to better at tackle than he is at guard. And he wasn't getting it done, and there were a couple goofy ass penalties. I thought Robert Hunt played okay overall along that line, and Ted Karras played okay, but it just wasn't good enough. I'm going to go with a D on this one. They weren't doing the best job in the running game. They didn't look like the offensive line we've seen all year. I know there were 6 sacks, but I put about 3 of them on the line and 3 of them on Tua in this one.
Yeah, yeah, I'm right there with you on the D. I mean, I'd like to revisit our conversation too on Penny Sewell. If the Dolphins have the opportunity to draft Penny Sewell at the offensive tackle spot, I mean, right now the Dolphins sit at the eighth or ninth position in the NFL draft after the Texans won today. That might be an opportunity that they want to take. I mean, because you can push all the resources from Austin Jackson to Penny Sewell inside to Robert Hunt and Solomon Kinley, Ted Karras, Eric Flowers, all those inside. And I think that's more important as the day goes along with Tua Tagovailoa.
It is, and you know where we're giving Tua credit for being a rookie, and he's going to have his struggles at times. We've got to do the same across the line. There were 3 rookies that saw extensive time on the offensive line today. My biggest worry actually on the line for next year, and I do think Penei Sewell is one hell of a talent. I wouldn't be upset if they drafted him. But again, I do like the linemen that Miami have. So it's more so it's going to depend on a few factors for me. If Miami lets all the linebackers walk in free agency, etc., like I'd struggle not to take Micah Parsons there, even if Sewell's on the board. But
Yeah,
I wouldn't hate the pick. I really wouldn't hate that pick.
Micah Parsons would be a great pick too. And that brings me to the Dolphins front 7 here. Raekwon Davis, I thought, did a heck of a job. I thought Zach Sealer did a heck of a job too in this game. But the edges were a little bit soft in this game. Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay, 34 carries for 160 plus yards, not good enough. Um, Andrew Van Ginkel was firing off the edge and had a big play in this game too. But you know, I I I can't help but think here that moving forward, if opposing teams want to run the ball against the Dolphins, they may be able to do it based on what the Broncos have done here today.
Yeah, we can't forget who Philip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon are. At the end of the day, we can't. It's and how many teams can boast a backfield that has Philip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon? I mean, and also can make you have to worry about your short screen game against a bunch of YAC receivers. It's I can't discount that fact, and I can't discount the fact that you take away that final play. The Broncos stuck to the ground with a lead and were trying to run down the clock with two very damn good running backs that both have 1,000-yard history in their back pocket. So again, I can't kill myself over that. It's the defense was on the field so much, and the D line. You know what? Agba played well. There weren't a huge amount of opportunities to get to the quarterback, and by no stretch when I say this am I blaming this because this is not the issue today. But Denver's left tackle was holding people from behind them as they were trying to run through. So anything that happened on that side, I'm not going to fully discount. Um,
Hmm.
but again,
Garrett
and
Bowles.
what's that?
Garrett Bowles
Yeah,
at the
I mean,
left
it's
tackle spot.
it's. I saw Miami get called for a hold or two that were far less, and again, I'm not blaming that. This team came out flat, especially on the offensive side of the
He
ball
is a
today.
nasty player. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
my comparison for him was actually Taylor Lewan coming out of college.
Oh,
So
that
it's
prick.
no surprise that that's the case.
But
Um,
but I mean, I saw him at times literally behind the player on the wrong side of him with an arm hooked around, and like it's. And I saw Shaq Lawson, I saw Andrew Van Ginkel, I saw I think it was Landon Roberts on one play, literally roll off and do the pull away that shows that they're being held, and you name it,
yeah,
and it just wasn't getting called. And okay, it's not getting called, but I can't fault them for not getting all the way through on that point. I think Denver's pulling guards did an amazing job at times today, but again,
yeah,
that's not against the D
yeah.
line.
In inside, Dalton Risner did a fantastic job
Oh,
inside
Risner was a
today.
monster.
Yeah,
I
it I'll say a couple things about the front seven. Number one, Jerome Baker, I don't think is good enough. It it
he
doesn't make sense.
he
It
was
doesn't
off the
make
field
sense.
on a lot of their big runs.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, B minus for the D line, by the way.
I'll go with a B minus for the. I'll go with the C plus just to undercut you. Uh, on the defensive line, I'll go with a C on the linebackers. The
I'm gonna go.
defensive.
Before we go D backs, I want to respond to something in chat here. And I'll go C on the linebackers right there with you. I'm fine with that grade. I think we did see Kyle Van Noy's injury with his hip play in a little bit, and we saw his speed play in a little bit. It's Van Noy is not the fastest guy at the edge. He isn't, but he did a decent job setting the edge and pushing things back inside today.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, Jerome Baker was off. If you look at the start of the second half, Jerome Baker was not on the field on a lot of the big runs that were chunk yardage that started to get ripped off there. And then once he got back out on the field, a lot of that crap stopped.
yeah, it was
So
more heavy defensive back and Landon Roberts, Cal Van Noy on the field, and for good reason too, because Jerome Baker is not a very good football player. That's just the reality as it is right now, and I expect him to be off the team after next year. Um,
we're gonna agree to disagree on that, but I want to go back to that thing in chat real quick, though, Kat. So, Jat Hammer. I totally get what you're saying from, or what you're saying about scouring free agency for veteran offensive linemen that are available. For one, there's not a lot of good ones available right now in any way, shape, or form. There's not. For two, good teams turn bad by knee jerk reactions to a single game. They really do. And if Miami's going to go out, and Kat, I'll let you add to this too, but at that point, we might as well be scouring for a free agent quarterback. We had a couple wide receivers drop the ball. We might as well be scouring for that. We might as well be scouring for some free agent linebackers and defensive ends because we didn't get any sacks today.
Yeah, I think we'll be sitting here with that, you know, mindset in 2 games and thinking, wow, we're 8-4 right now because I expect the Dolphins to beat the Jets and to beat the Bengals, and also to finish the year at least 10-6.
Right.
I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, bad teams have knee jerk reactions, and good teams will turn themselves into bad teams by having a knee jerk reaction where they overhaul the roster based on a single game. This offensive line has played well overall this year.
Yep.
Tua has played well overall this year. This was a crap game on the offensive side of the ball. They laid an egg and still lost a 1-score game.
Yeah, I'll even go a step further. I think it was a crap game on both sides of the ball. I mean, for Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay to have 32 carries for 160 plus yards, I thought was embarrassing. And Drew Lock to start the game 1 for 7 and to finish the game for 270 yards at questionable with hurt ribs, awful too. But let's keep things in perspective. The Dolphins lost this game 20 to 13 here. 20 to 13. They didn't get blown out. This was not a 37-12 game like the Broncos lost last week. So if we're here in 2 weeks and the Dolphins are 8-4, then I think it's a different situation, and I think we're still talking about a playoff run.
Yeah, I'm still talking playoffs here. I feel like this game was an aberration at this point. It goes against all the evidence we have for this year. I mean, it really does. Are there positions to upgrade? Yeah, and don't lose track of the fact that we're still talking about a team that very likely finishes 10-6 this season and is halfway through a rebuild and starting a rookie quarterback that just started a few weeks ago. This was his 4th start, and he laid a little bit of an egg in this one, and it's fine.
Yeah, I agree that he laid an egg in this one. I was pissed off that they pulled him in this one. I did not care for that. But anyway,
let's see how he responds, because history is going to tell us whether it was the right move.
yeah,
Not today, but once we get a little further down the road, you know what? We may be sitting here in 2 years having, one of those Zoom calls with the Dolphins with Tua, and literally having him say the best thing that ever happened to me was when I got pulled out of that game my rookie year, and really reality checked. I learned more from that game than I did from winning everything I touched at Alabama.
that's quite possible. What is your grade for the defensive back spot?
I'm going to give the defensive backs. I'm going to give them a B plus here. They're not the reason we lost this game. I know Drew Lock threw for 270 yards. You take away that final piece of crap throw for 50, 60 yards. And the guy had, 210 yards today, 200 yards today. You tell me any given year that they're going to hold any NFL quarterback to 200 yards. I'm going to point at a game that they probably won or lost so ridiculously that the defensive backs weren't a factor. Eric Rowe pulling up that ball on that fumble that Andrew Van Ginkel forced was huge. Xavier Howard getting an interception that really put Miami in it early in this one. And Byron Jones was a little bit of a stud today. Brandon Jones was all over the damn field. Jamal Perry's probably his best game, so he was mediocre today. And Bobby McCain again is effective as all hell patrolling the entire field. So
I've
yeah,
I've I've got nothing bad to say about Bobby McCain in this game. Eric Rowe, I thought had his worst game of the year. Every time that Drew Lock rolled out to the right, Eric Rowe was not there, and I was disappointed to see that. Tim Patrick, 5 catches for 119 yards, not good enough at the wide receiver spot. But yeah, at defensive back, I don't have a lot of problems with the Dolphins and what they're doing. You know,
yeah.
how could you after the last couple of games here? I mean,
Well,
so
and Kat, one thing I want to touch on real quick, based on some of the stuff we're talking about, where I think part of why we're saying that they weren't very good on D today is because they were just okay in this one. And the standard has been set over the past few weeks where the defense is scoring touchdowns. Emmanuel Agba's sacking everybody. Andrew Van Ginkel is all over the place. Xavier Howard's picking people off left and right. Eric Rowe is just shutting everybody down. Bobby McCain's allowing a zero point 0.0 passer rating to his area. Jerome Baker's throwing down 15 tackles, and Landon Roberts and Kamal Grugier-Hill are missling through into the backfield. And so that step back to okay, while it may be lower than here, I'd still take what
yeah,
this defense did today. I'd still take, if you told me the defense allowed 20 points with the players that we have on this offense, I'd tell you we probably won a game, knowing nothing about what happened on offense. If you told me the defense allowed 20 points and only allowed 200 yards passing, I would probably take the bet that Miami won that game, and that's without knowing a damn thing about the offensive side of the ball.
based on the statistics, I understand what you're saying. Drew Lock throwing for 270 yards, and Melvin Gordon and Philip Lindsay 32 carries for 170 yards. Maybe I think a little bit differently on that, but I understand what you're saying. But based on the defensive back spot, I understand. And by the way, Noah Igbenogany turns 21 in 5 days. So can you believe that? I mean, that's he's not even 21 years old yet.
And he made a couple of little plays today. Don't I
No,
know? I know you're in the I hate Igby fan
Danny,
club. He made a couple. He showed up.
I think Jamal Perry made a couple of plays today.
Jamal Perry screwed a couple plays too.
But
Don't you start that Jamal.
uh,
Don't call me
uh,
Wills. I'm in witness protection program garbage with me, sir.
special teams. Actually, my grade on the defensive backs is going to be a C plus. Special teams. Jason Sanders nails another 50-yard field goal. Matt Hawk nails another 60-yard punt. No big kick returner, our big kick return, our punt return from Jakeem Grant, but overall, I give the special teams unit an A minus. I mean, Clayton Fengelum took out
Yes.
a referee in this game. What more can you say?
Ah, I thought that was Van Ginkel, but regardless, it's Fedulum was all over the damn field today. It's if there was a special teams kick, there was Fedulum missling in after it, and Jamal Perry flying past whoever it was. But outside of that, it's good God, Matt Hawk's leg plus Denver air. You could see the punt returner just stopping, looking up, and looking at his watch, and everybody else kind of hanging out, checking it out. And yes, the Colonel was lights out again today. He kicked one that looked like it would have been good from about 80 yards. Was kicking the ball out of the back of the end zone religiously. I can't discount the special teams. There were some beautiful plays on special teams today. Special teams didn't lose us the game. It's an A.
Yeah, and overall, it's a good roster. I'm just pissed off at what happened today.
Cat,
And we're
I'd give you a hug, but we're socially distanced so many states apart. And
all right. So that will do it for a breakdown of the Dolphins
hold on,
Broncos.
hold on. Player of the game, Coke Bus.
Of,
We got to do it.
of course, of course, of course. So who's your Coke Bus player of the game and your player of the game?
Coke Bus player of the game. I'm not going to throw a rookie under the bus here. So I'm going to go Eric Flowers. And I do believe in him moving forward. But this game, he got beat, and not really by anybody good when he did. So I do expect him to fully recover and start mauling some people next week. As far as my player of the game goes, I'm going to go to somebody that I think I probably gave a Coke Bus to earlier this year. And while I'd love to go with special teams here and thought about Fedulum, thought about Matt Hawk, I'm going to go with Raekwon Davis. He was stout at the point of attack and really shows why I was wrong when Miami took him, even though I wanted A.J. Dillon.
Yeah, I mean Raekwon Davis has been that perfect nose tackle at that point of attack that you've talked about. My player of the game is going to be actually Devontae Parker because I thought he made so many key plays out there on the perimeter. And my Coke Bus player is going to be yours from last week, and it's going to be Jesse Davis. I mean, at that right tackle spot, it was not good enough, and I mean, so many plays that were beat by Bradley Chubb, at 5 to 6 sacks from the Denver Broncos. So we'll see. We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
And that's kind of cool because sitting here thinking about it, there were several players that I think we both would have been okay as player of the game. There were several that we would have been okay on the Coke Bus. But, guys like Van Ginkel and Fedulum and Hawk and Sanders and, Devontae Parker and, really if you could name a few guys in the secondary here too as potential. And Zach Sealer, he played pretty damn good too. So there are some bright spots in this one. We've just got to temper. We're not used to losing all of a sudden, which we're not used to. We're not used to not being used to losing. Let's
Exactly right. Because I'm starting to bypass Raekwon Davis, Zach Sealer, Emmanuel Ogba, Andrew Van Ginkel, Byron Jones, Xavier Howard. I mean, starting to bypass even Bobby McCain. I'm starting to bypass those guys. We're starting to take it for granted that Jason Sanders is going to kick another field goal from 50 yards. Yeah, for 21 of 22 for this season. But
there's a lot of bright spots, dude. There really are.
A lot of bright spots, but also, damn it, we're ninth in the AFC now.
Okay. We'll get it back, dude.
That pisses me off. That pisses me off.
And you know what? We're gonna get it back. We're gonna. And this is a team that is looking up. Halfway through a rebuild, we're ninth in the AFC right now. And we have one of the youngest rosters out there. We don't really have anything super critical going into free agency next year. And as far as players that will be free agents. And the future is very bright. Our oldest player on defense is 29. Our oldest player on offense, not named Fitz, is probably has another 8 years left in the league. I mean, it's we're in really good shape and we're on an upturn at a time the Pats are on a downturn. And boy, did we learn that today after they got smacked around by Houston. And the Jets just look like they're the worst team in the league and getting worse. And yeah, the Bills are okay right now, but I don't feel like they're sustainable the way they're doing it. Miami is sustainable success that they're setting up for, and there's gonna be some steps back as we're driving forward. And today was a step back, but this coaching staff, do you believe in them, Kat?
I do.
And they're gonna bring these guys around. They're going to bring these guys around. And I'll give Flores a little credit on pulling to it, even if not everybody agreed with it today. because I believe in what they're doing there, and I believe he's going to take the appropriate steps afterwards to teach Tua and bring him where he needs to be and build him back up better than before.
Yeah. I think he has a lot of explaining to do this upcoming week.
I'll let.
But
I would love to sit there while you ask him to explain himself.
yeah. I wouldn't, because I respect Flores's ability to lie to the media.
He's not even going to lie. He's going to be like, I don't have to explain myself to any of you. I'm going to make the decision I make. That is going to be his answer.
Yep.
But I
Yep.
both know that is
Yep.
going to be his
Yeah.
100% his
He's
answer
gonna
right there.
he's gonna have one middle finger to the media, which I would also respect. So that will do it for our breakdown of the Broncos win 20-13 over the Miami Dolphins. You can follow Paul and I on Facebook, Twitter, Spreaker, iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. I'm Brian Cat NFL. Paul is fanatic_pick. And if it's not on the right side and it's not on the left side, it is on the fin side. So the